Dear friends in Worldwide Marriage Encounter, I'm Paul and this is Bianca. We as a couple have been reflecting on our life, how it currently stands, but more importantly, how it was and how it will be in the future. This reflection has highlighted the need for change. As the world comes to grips on how to end isolation and move forward, powerful forces will try to convince us to get back to normal. Advertising and the media will attempt to make us feel comfortable again and attempt to remind us that what we want again is normality. In truth, we all want the feeling of normality. We want desperately to feel good again, to get back to the routines of life, not to lie in bed at night wondering how we are going to pay our mortgages and bills, not to wake to an endless scroll of human tragedy on our phones, and simply leave the house for work. The need for comfort will be real and it will be strong. Brilliant marketers know how to rewire our hearts, and make no mistake, the heart is what has been most traumatized this last month. We are, as a society, now vulnerable in a whole new way. What the trauma has shown us cannot be unseen. There are images that would be fit for a postcard. Fewer cars on the roads, less pollution, and hearing the birds chirping. But what is not fit for a postcard are the other scenes we have witnessed. A shortage of protective equipment, businesses struggling to pay their rent or their workers, the less fortunate who have already been dealt a daily struggle.
We as a society have deeply disturbing problems. They are problems we ignore every day, not because we are terrible people or because we don't care about fixing them, but because of our own priorities. This applies to all of us, regardless of our ethnicity, religion, gender, or socio-economic status. We are out and about, hustling to make our own lives work. It is very easy to close our eyes to a problem when you barely have enough time to close them for sleep. The greatest misconception among us is that we somehow do not care about each other. This could not be further from the truth. We do care. While the treadmill we have been on for decades just stopped, bam, leaving us with this feeling of what just happened. We hope you might consider this. It is the greatest gift unwrapped, not the deaths, not the virus, but the great pause. We shouldn't recoil from the bright light beaming through the window. It can hurt the eyes, but the curtain is wide open. What this crisis has given us is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to see ourselves and our society in the plainest of views. At no other time have we gotten the opportunity to see what would happen if the world simply stopped. Here it is. We are in it. And because it is rarer than rare, it has brought to light all of the beautiful and painful truths of how we live. And that feels weird. If we want to create a better society, we have to pay attention to how we feel right now. We cannot speak for you, but we imagine you might feel like we do, devastated, depressed, and heartbroken.
Soon, the greatest campaign ever will be unleashed to get us to feel normal again. We must be mindful. It'll come from brands, it'll come from governments, it'll even come from each other. It'll come from all directions. We will do anything, spend anything, believe anything, just so that we can take away how horribly uncomfortable all this feels. And on top of that, there will be an all-out blitz to make us believe we never saw what we saw. The air was not cleaner, the hospitals weren't a war zone, the numbers weren't that high. We didn't see inequality. But we did. We are not crazy. It'll be fast and it'll be furious and it'll be overwhelming. The great return to normal is coming our way. We ask you to think deeply about what you want to put back into your life. This is our chance to define a new version of the normal, a rare and truly sacred opportunity to get rid of the unnecessary and to only bring back what works for us, what makes our lives richer, what makes our kids happier, what makes us truly proud. We care deeply about one another, that is clear. That can be seen in every supportive Facebook post, in every meal dropped off for a neighbor, in every Zoom birthday party. We are good people, and as good people, we want to define, on our terms, what the society looks like in the future. This is our chance to do that.
We can do that on a personal scale in our homes, for example, how we choose to spend our family time on nights and weekends. We can do it locally in our communities, in what organizations we support, and which political parties we entrust with our vote. We must resist the massive drive that will attempt to drive us towards the great return to normal. Having reflected on the above as a couple, we arrived at the conclusion that we wanted a new normal for us. After further reflection, we quickly realized that this would actually be more challenging than it sounds.
So this is what I shared with Bianca. For weeks now, I've been listening to those around me, particularly the media, and I hear the same old lines. We need to get things back to normal. When will things get back to normal? And all I want to do is scream out loud. No, please let us change things. I have a hope that when this isolation ends, we enter into a new world, which is free of war, poverty, famine, suffering, disease, mistrust, and the list can go on and on and on. This seems like an unrealistic hope, Satya. I do not have the power to make such sweeping changes to our world. Such dramatic changes are out of my control. This leaves me feeling frustrated, helpless, and irrelevant. What do I have control over? What difference can I make? And what can I change? The obvious answer is that I have control over my own habits and behaviors. I can begin to change the world around me and make it a better place by changing myself. I can start meaningful change by modifying my own attitudes, behaviors, habits, and thoughts. This makes me feel slightly better about myself, but there is a glimmer of hope. But at the same time, I must be true to myself. I've tried many times in the past to break old habits and form new ones. I've made promises to change my behaviors and failed miserably. These past actions do not give me much hope for the future. These thoughts fill me with fear and anxiety.
And this is what I shared with Paul. Watching this pandemic unfold has been heartbreaking and a real eye-opener. Of course it is affecting the whole world, yet there has been a real sense of fear for South Africa. Being able to visualize and fully comprehend the devastation this virus would cause if it took hold in the townships. We only just have to look at how it is affecting our lives here, and we live in relative comfort and luxury. Yes, we are facing challenges too, yet there is just no comparison. We are all in the storm together, yet we are definitely not in the same boat. This leaves me feeling helpless, sad, and heartbroken. I would like to be doing so much to help, yet am struggling to even adjust to the change I am experiencing in my own life. This leaves me feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, and so disappointed in myself. I do realize that for things to change, it never has to be on a massive scale. A small change is all it takes. And the only change I really have control over is change within me. This brings a glimmer of hope and inspiration. I know I am able to change if I really want to. It is sustaining the change that is always the challenge.
How many times in the past few weeks have you said to yourself, I wish I could change this habit or that behavior. We are guessing quite a few times if you are like us. But this is usually promptly followed by, I don't know how to change my habits. Tell me what I need to do to change my behaviors. How can we really change a habit if we don't know what it is and how it works? Well, we can't. And the same can be said for our attitudes, behaviors, and thoughts too.
So, in the book Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, the author talks about the habit loop. The habit loop comprises of the cue, the routine, and the reward. Understanding how our habits work, understanding the habit loop, makes them easier to control. Firstly, if we look at the cue, it is a trigger that tells your brain to go into automatic mode and which habit to use. Secondly, there is the routine, which can be physical or mental or emotional. And finally, the reward, which helps your brain decide if this particular loop is worth remembering for the future.
So, looking at some examples in my own life of the habit loop, our daughter shouts up to me in the morning, Dad, are you joining Mom and me for a run today? The cue. I climb out of bed, go downstairs, put my trainers on, and go for a run. This is being the routine. At the end of our run, I can see the joy on her face that we have spent time together, this being the reward. Bianca asking me recently to help take in hygiene products for the needy to the collection points, the queue. Instinctively, my suspicious thoughts come to the fore, leaving me wondering how genuine these people are and if these items are really for the needy, the routine. Those fraudsters have not got the better of me. I saw right through them. I'm not taking those items. My reward. With much self-awareness, I'm able to realize that this is not a good, trusting behavior. And by understanding that a habit comprises of the cue, the routine, and the reward, I can form a new habit. The cue remains the same. Bianca asked me for help with delivering the hygiene products to the needy. I choose to replace my instinctive suspicious thoughts with thoughts of compassion and kindness for others and help Bianca deliver the necessary items. This becomes my new routine. I now choose to reflect on the sense of satisfaction that I have actually been able to help others. This now becomes my new reward and is more powerful than the old reward.
We now have a stronger feeling of hope, knowing that we can change by forming new habits, behaviors, and attitudes that will be good for each of us and those around us. It is easier for us to change our behaviors when we are part of a community, and we are so grateful to be part of the Marriage Encounter community. We really hope that this pandemic opens our eyes and that they remain open even when this too shall pass. We now have a question for you. Reflecting on the great pause, what habit, behavior, or attitude do I most want to change? And how will I go about making this change? Please share fully on this answer with your spouse or partner.
So we just start to say thank
Thank
you,
you, and we wish you a fruitful sharing.